Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Golf Parfection podcast. In this one, I'm going to do my winners and losers for the second match, which was Jupiter Golf Links versus LA Golf Club. That being said, before we get started, I wanted to give my insight on comparing the TV product versus the in-person product, because now that I've watched both, I have some thoughts. So first off, I kind of like the TV product a little bit more than the in-person product. The jury is still out though, because I think the in-person product would be really good if the matches were a little bit closer and they came down to the wire. Like all spectator sports, lopsided ordeals are not that great to watch, even if it is your own team. Because you start losing interest, and then you paid money for an event that is only excited for maybe half of it. So the jury's still out on which I would probably prefer. But right now, yeah, the TV product was, I think, much better in my opinion. And I think the main thing for me, which is my complaint in my other video, is that I really enjoyed hearing the players in the banter. I know the match that just concluded, they really kicked the banter up another notch. I think it's because Tiger Woods was there, and they were kind of looking to Tiger to see how they should act or be, in this league that he partially owns. So I think that really helped the players loosen up a bit. And then you had obviously the great personalities of Max Homa, Kevin Kizner, even though they didn't play very well. Right now, I just think the TV product is so much more polished than the in-person product. I think that makes sense because Mike McCarley, who was an NBC sports executive, he knows TV. That's his bread and butter. The thing about him and being in his position, yes, he knows how to put on a good TV product from an existing sport. However, in this case with TGL, this is a brand new sport. So him and his team, or whoever is the product owner of TGL, they really need to start improving the in-person product for everyone there to still be engaged and get into it, because for the most part, I feel like the crowd was kind of into it. But yeah, you really need to give your crowd some direction in terms of what to do during what times in order for them to have a good time there, because yeah, it just seemed pretty dead. And the crowd wasn't even that great for the inaugural match when I was there. So that's something that can definitely be improved upon. All right, I'll make this real quick. Let's get into the winners and losers. First winner actually is Max Homa. I think of all the players, I think he felt the most at home. Even though his team was getting his butt kicked, he was, taking it in stride. He took it on the chin. He was very aware of the right things to say. I don't know how, he's just that kind of personable, charismatic guy, but he was definitely one of those guys that I initially thought would be a good fit for TGL, and it really started to show, especially in this match. He really engaged the crowd too, which I didn't see last week from the players when I was there in person, so that was cool as well. All right, next winner is LA Golf Club. Of course, they played very well. They stomped 12-1, but each player, brought something to it. Sahith played really well, and he was really amped, and you can tell he was really into it and excited. And so he was just happy to be there, and he performed really well. Colin made some really good wet shot and short game shots, so kudos on him. He played well. Justin Rose also showed his veteran team golf leadership, and he sank some pretty clutch putts. Another winner here is my Discord. We had a good time just chatting away and, in Discord about the match and, throwing out our comments. And, when I went there in person, I went there by myself. Had a good time. I made some connections with the people that were there, but they weren't necessarily like my friends or my buddies. I really thought it was cool to watch TGL on TV and then chat away with my Discord. So join Discord. We'll be watching the matches together weekly and chatting away in the Discord. And lastly, another winner, which this one's kind of a stretch, but the New York Golf Club. So for a while, I thought the 9-2 loss that they suffered pretty much was going to be the long-standing worst performance for TGL, but already it's been topped in this week's match with a 12-1 loss. So yeah, weirdly enough, New York Golf Club is a winner, and maybe they turn around because next week when they play against Atlanta, they'll have a full entire match under their belt and know what to expect. And I think, yeah, having that one match, I feel like the advantage is definitely in New York Golf Club's favor because Atlanta hasn't had the practice or gone through a rep. So we'll see how that goes next week. All right, let's talk about losers. So right now, one of the losers here is definitely the 3v3 format. Right now with the 3v3 format, it's really hard to make up ground for a single player if they're playing poorly. So, since the Ryder Cup has so many pairings in your team, and, they kind of tend to normalize in terms of skill player level. If one person is doing bad, yeah, that's one pairing, but you have a bunch of other pairings to kind of make it close. But man, if one person is not playing well on your team and it's a 3v3, it's really hard to make up for that, especially in the alternate shot. You need all golfers playing at a high level. Someone on the other team has one person playing poorly, in this case Kizner. It's not going to be a good time in terms of competitiveness. Speaking of Kizner, he is the next loser in all this. Yes, he brought the vibes, but he played terribly. It was kind of expected. He's probably one of the weaker golfers, like in this whole thing. And the sad reality is that these courses, and I made this point in my last video, these holes are made for dudes that can, carry it 300 yards, and he can't. So, it was really on display here, the lack of distance that he had. But even in his short game and approach game, like, he wasn't doing all that great. But he came away with the moment of night where he bladed his sand shot straight into the flag, and everyone was laughing, and people loved it. As much as he played poorly, that was probably one of the highlights of the night where he did that. And yeah, it's something that, will be remembered in TGL history, I think. All right, another loser here is actually Tiger Woods. Yeah, he didn't play well, and he definitely didn't putt well. Like, none of his putts were rolling really close. He did make one clutch putt that, kept them in it, but other than that, he did not play great. He is the face of this league, and his team got blown out by an all-time record. Like, that's probably gonna, I say this now, but that's probably gonna be the long outstanding worst record loss in TGL. So we will see. Maybe someone gets blanked out or shut out, but who knows? 12-1, that's going to be really hard to beat. So coming up next here, the next loser is the hammer. Right off the bat, I think Tiger was trying to create drama, kind of like how YouTube golf is, where they try to force drama. Before he even hits his shot, he throws down the hammer. The other team accepts. And actually, strategically, that's not a good use of the hammer. You want to use the hammer in a situation when you have a leg up, but just enough leg up to where the other team thinks they might have a shot to win the hole. So ultimately, that they accept, and then the hole is worth 2 points. So Jupiter Golf Links used the hammer right away. They end up tying the hole, and then the possession of the hammer goes to the other team. And then LA Golf Club, they used it in a more strategic way to where they could get 2 points in a hole instead of, tying or just yielding the hammer to the other team. And another thing is that I see a lot of people suggesting, if the team is down, they should be the one who continually uses the hammer and keeps the hammer unless they win the hole. If they keep tying, the hammer should stay with the team that initiated the hammer. But once the other team that is winning gets possession in the hammer, it's pretty much game over. Like, they're so far ahead, you're gonna be dorming very quickly, even after the alternate shot 9 holes. Another loser here that I didn't expect to see but kind of came up was simulator legitimacy. So last week when I attended in person, maybe I was caught up in all the technology and the newness and the awesomeness of everything. But what I didn't notice is, like, if the players that were hitting, if their shots were being read correctly. Now, I don't know. Maybe they are being read correctly, and then the players are still just, getting used to the simulator itself. But there were some very questionable ball launches. I think Tiger was he was less than 100 yards out. He hits a wedge, and it goes over the green, and then it goes into the water hazard. I don't know. There's been a lot of discourse about, hey, is this tech legitimate? Is this tech, up to snuff in terms of reading the shots accurately? Just the calculations maybe seemed off, but who knows? We'll never find out, because that can also get you in trouble. When it comes to sports and it comes to sports gambling, it's very binary of yes or no if things will happen. But when you start adding a computer that does simulations, that does calculations to give you a result of where something should end up or something should be, that could get dicey in the sports gambling world. So I don't know if there's a third party validating how legit the sim is, because that could mean all the difference if someone puts a lot of money down on a certain prop bet or something. Or I looked at the prop bets, and some was who's going to be closest to the pin or who's going to have the longest drive. But if you have a hiccup in that simulator and that calculation of the algorithm or whatever, it could change the outcome of your bets. So I don't know. We'll see what happens going forward with that. But another part and another loser of this is the full swing software graphics and physics. So there were some strange behaviors, I will admit, with some of the shots where it just doesn't seem real. And the thing with sim golf is that there are other alternatives that we have seen in real life, like GS Pro, that looks so much better than the full swing sim. Yeah, sometimes when the ball lands on the green, it just doesn't look like it bounces and spins correctly. Or sometimes a ball hits into a trap and it rolls forward onto the green. It just looked funny, right? I know that they probably have to run less intensive graphics on such a important thing to where the computers that they're running don't hiccup. But it just does not look great, and is really noticeable for me on TV now because they put the simulator on the screen full blown, and I could see all the details. The grass just doesn't look good. The holes, from far away in person, the holes look kind of cool, but on screen with the high resolution screen, yeah, you know, just there's some funkiness with the full swing graphics and the physics behind them as well. And my last loser here is the people attending in person. Unfortunately, no matter where you go, no matter what sport you watch, a lopsided game is never fun for a spectator. That's my winners and losers. I'll be doing this on a weekly basis, but I just wanted to add that additional thing in the beginning where I, you know, gave my perspective of the in-person product versus the TV product. Like I said, I kind of like the TV product a little bit more. Right now, the tickets for TGL are getting scalped like crazy. I would definitely will not pay the scalped prices. That's insane. Scalpers ruin all sports, by the way. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that one. Keep chasing. We'll see you in the next one.